Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on May 4th, 2021 at approximately 10:08 a.m. PST. Yesterday we were talking about the idea of how energy manifests in your personal life. We're going to expand that at this point because like I've said, my goal here is to take this message to the entire world. And that does not just mean humans. Humans, other races, animals, plants, all of them are interconnected. Even the elementals are connected. Okay, understand now, I hear a lot of people talking about different dimensions and what have you. From my understanding, everything I have seen, yes, things vibrate at different rates, but everything in existence in this world is third dimensional. However, when we're talking about things vanishing, you can accommodate that by either light manipulation or by speed or vibratory rate. You know, if you'll notice, my hand is moving is sitting there essentially still. But it gets a little harder to track if I move it this way, and gets really difficult to see the actual hand if we shake it just that much. You vibrate something fast enough, and it becomes invisible to the naked eye, which is why the camera can pick it up, because the camera will pick it up in half spots. Okay, that's why some people don't see anything until they take a photograph. And then all of a sudden, there you have it. Now, when we're talking about altering reality, in essence, we're actually working with it. Because all existence operates under the same set of rules. And this is why we said that you treat everything as you desire to be treated. Okay, when you focus on attaining a goal, like in my case, last month I was focusing on legally generating a minimum of $2,000 a month. Well, the side effect of that was I managed to attain it. Now, you can chalk that up to what you will. You don't have to take my word for it. Okay, test these methods on your own, get your own data. Okay, when we're looking at the way energy works and the way that that finances work, health works, the actual world around you works, it's all interconnected. In essence, the only real difference between the way your hand works and moving your hand and moving a coffee cup. Okay, both are just simply a mass of elements, or a mass of molecules, if you will, but a mass of atoms. And here's the thing. The reality is the difference between the cells in your hand and the cells in this cup. When you go to pick it up, you're not technically touching the cup. You're touching the atoms around it, which is how psychokinesis. Now, I am not one, I do not recall at this point how to actually activate psychokinesis. What you would know is telekinesis. But it's still one molecule to the next. When you're going to move your hand, your mind sends a signal down the nerves, but the nerves are all connected. They are simply one molecule to the next. So you send the message from your head all the way down to your hand to get it to open and close. If you take your hands, put them just, sort of a quarter inch, half inch apart, whatever you can, concentrate for a moment on them and understand energy, as I discussed before, flows both directions at the same time. If you put your hands somewhere between a quarter and half an inch apart, whatever works for you, and concentrate on that, you will feel an energy pulse between your hands. Okay, now I cannot describe it to you. I've heard it described a number of different ways. Well, I could describe it. I've heard it described a number of different ways. Okay, but put your hands together, see if you feel something. Whether you can identify it or not doesn't matter. Okay, but when you're working with it, you concentrate on it, and you can feel that. You can build the energy quite a distance. Okay, and again, don't take my word for it. Give this a shot yourself. When you're looking at manifesting things, thought is one of the steps in it. As we said, it starts off in the etheric plane, up amongst what most people refer to as the soul or the ether. Okay, and then it's brought down and translated into the material world. By understanding that, you can access the cells in your body. Okay, and by working with it, like when I put my hands that close together, I concentrate on one word, heal, because I don't have to know what's wrong with my body. I don't have to know the specifics. It's entertaining to figure it out. Okay, and if I really feel that I've got to find out what something is going wrong, going to a doctor is a good idea. Okay, I recently came across a revelation this morning that answered all the questions I needed, although I will still keep with the medication I'm on right now to keep my blood pressure at a functional level, that sort of thing. But I concentrate on one word, and I use this in tandem with the input I get from doctors, okay, or from spiritual healers or whoever. This is all part and parcel. I love the way it was put in a Marvel movie called Doctor Strange, where it was laid out that all of the pictures, the chakras, the nerve systems, MRIs, acupuncture and acupressure points, okay, all of these things are just bits and pieces of the whole picture. When you combine them all together, you'll get a much more solid configuration. So by concentrating on that word heal, my body, I now have figured out how to get it to do just that. Okay, now I still use crutches on occasion, okay, as in medication and treatments that people that are physically trained, are trained in the physical, the physical educational system to bolster what I'm working with, to get access to the information I don't have. Like, for instance, I don't have access to an x-ray machine. So going in and getting an x-ray done is kind of convenient. Okay, because comprehension and practical experience play a part in how comfortable you are doing this. Okay, now again, everything I'm talking about that I have pulled off or that I've managed to do, you've got the same capacity, regardless of what walk of life you come from, regardless of what your income, your political alignment, your religious beliefs. It doesn't matter. You all have the same thing. Okay, this is why I say every individual in existence is of the same value. They're all worth the same. We are not talking finances. Your bank account may well be a whole lot better, and I hope your bank account is a lot better than mine. But your bank account does not define your value. Okay, in your eyes at this point it may, but ask yourself this. Whether you've got $1 million in your hand or whether you've got $1.50, do you still put your pants on one leg at a time? Okay, do you still put your socks on one foot at a time? The odds are, yeah. My guess is that you still eat the same way everybody else does. Pick food up, stick it in your mouth, and away you go. Same idea with drinking. Okay, the other issue that we all pretty much have in common is we have a certain amount of time alive. Now, there's very few people that can go, here's when you're going to pass away. There are a few of them out there. But I will tell you this, a number of times I've heard that people have told me so-and-so was going to die, and I've looked at and went, no. And watched them get up and walk away. After the doctor said, no, these people are, there's nothing we can do for them. They're dead. Well, the reality is, the doctor's right at that point. Okay, there is nothing they can do for them. Because the healing, in all fairness, does not come from the doctor or from the medication. It comes from here. It comes from getting this aligned with this. When your heart and your head are aligned equally, what happens is your body will run much more smoothly. The energy will run properly. If an engine in a vehicle is tuned properly, it runs a lot better. The vehicle will last a lot longer. Same issue with the physical world. Okay, if you take care of your body, you put the right foods into it, as in foods that aren't full of toxins. Okay, now that brings us to this idea of people talking about this is organic food or that's in or that's not. The reality is, if it ain't made of plastic, it's probably, if it's edible, it qualifies, in my opinion, as organic. I realize there's these neat little ideas of when they say organic, they're talking about not adding extra toxins or not adding extra pesticides. Well, here's the thing. That I don't debate. They undoubtedly, when they're qualifying it that way, is great. The problem is, if you've got a farm that you're calling organic, and there is another farm on the planet that is spraying pesticides, especially if it's one close to you, those pesticides, because you're still using oxygen and you're still using water from the water table, those pesticides are still going to get to your food. Now, granted, organic farms, if they're not adding it directly, are healthier. Okay, I'm not debating that in the slightest. But back in 1986, okay, there was a volcano down in Washington State that blew up called Mount St. Helens. Now, I was still living up here in a suburb of Kelowna at the time. Okay, some 5 hours away from that, we ended up with ash all over our balcony. So the volcanic eruption that happened over there ended up coating our balcony over here. This is why we say that it's all connected. Doesn't matter if you spray pesticide into the air, it's going to get carried. Okay, and there's all sorts of tests that can be done that can prove that. When we look at the reality that all of life is interconnected, that's when we start making things work. Okay, when you realize that how you treat people is going to come back to you one way or the other. If you're decent to people, how many times have you heard of people having a neat little problem? They run into problems with the cops all the time. Okay, and if that's offensive to you, my apologies. If they run into troubles with police all the time, when you get pulled over, if you're rude to the police already have a hard enough time. And understand, they are people, and they are just people as well. But if you come at them and you're really rude while they're doing their job, okay, you're certain to get a negative reaction out of them. Now, being polite to them does not necessarily mean you'll get treated properly, but it does stack the deck in your favor. And again, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. All of this is connected. All peoples are connected. Okay, and rest assured, let's say you're one of these people that is, for whatever reason, has a tendency of beating on dogs, for instance. You see a dog going by, whether you're afraid of dogs or not. Okay, if you're going through a neighborhood and every dog you come across, you kick the dogs will communicate with each other, and you can bet your bottom dollar they're not going to like you much. Okay, on the other hand, if you're treating the dogs decently, in all fairness, I'm more likely to say hello to a dog than I am people, but that's just me. Okay, if you treat the animals nicely, and the other animals are around, they see this going on, they will be a lot more relaxed approaching you. And again, this is a win-win for everybody, but energy itself connects everybody. Okay, that's just the way it is. Now you can do all the testing, all the experimentation you like. Whatever you do, don't just take my word for it. The tools I'm offering, the insights that I'm offering regarding the way that the world works, are the same tools I personally use. Okay, they're the exact same ones that have got me to the point now where I'm content with my finances. I'm content with the way things are going. There are a number of things I'm still not doing quite the way that are probably the most effective. But this funny little notepad, and this is why on this little notepad I've got my next couple of days already worked out as to what I'm going to be doing as far as the journey goes. Now, This said, if you have questions, okay, if I'm addressing them, great. I'd love to hear your comments below. If you've got questions, below this video you'll find a list of contact points where you can reach out to me through Facebook, through YouTube, through LinkedIn, right, through Twitter. There are all kinds of ways of getting a hold of me. It's not like I'm hiding anymore. Granted, I don't go out in public that much, but I still get around, as it were. Okay, and I deal with literally everything. I am as near as I can figure out. Now, if I don't have the information, for instance, I'm not going to tell you how to operate on somebody because, frankly, I haven't got a clue how to do it. Okay, amputation, yeah, I can explain it. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, but when we're talking about putting things back together, I would much rather talk to an actual surgeon that knows what they're doing, that's had the practical training. Okay, now where it comes to personal life, I started my work in the public sector as far as dealing with people went, where it came to relationships, and then I moved into where it comes to business, health, this sort of thing. All of these tools I am more than willing to share with people, and this is why below this video I also have a list of different publications that I've put into print that at this point are only available through me. Okay, but if you look down below, you'll find that whole list. Okay, if you've got questions around aliens, UFOs, ancient races, alien technologies, okay, I am not a scientist. Everything I've got on that is all based on practical and first-hand experience. Again, you don't have to believe me. Okay, I'm not here to prove to anybody what I've been through. But on the first Friday of every month, I am up on Spaced Out Radio on the internet at spacedoutradio.com. Okay, with the ET Connection, and with R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. I've been on that show now for 6 years running. Okay, missed a few of them. Of course, 2 years ago I had a little bit of a problem. Hard to be on the line, on the show, in the middle of a stroke. Really rough. I have enough trouble talking. But, that said, when we start looking at it, people talk about, UFOs don't exist. Well, my understanding is that the greater majority of people now do actually believe that off-worlders exist. That there is something else out there. To the ones that go, mankind is the top of the world, is the top of the totem pole, it's an interesting thought. Only it belies the question as to why there are so many things that people don't understand. Okay. Now, I love the issue of, for me, the term UFO is real simple. Unidentified flying object. If it's airborne, now they've changed it, I think, to UAP, which would be unidentified aerial phenomena. Okay, which I can work with quite happily. They're both the same to me. If it's in the air and you don't know what it is, it could be a sparrow and you don't know what it is, and all you see is a little speck. It is still an unidentified flying object or an unidentified aerial phenomena. Okay, people ask me, like, I periodically get handed photographs where people go, what is this? I am not a photo analyst. Do I understand the way they work? Certainly. Now, on the other hand, when people contact me regarding how their relationship is going, it's very easy for me to see the patterns, because corporeal entities all respond essentially in the same fashion. Okay, they are all independent, they're all unique people. And again, you are all equally of equal worth. Every one of you. Okay, that's why I have this very simple philosophy. Oh, I moved that. This would be the filing cabinet that I keep talking about. I actually shifted the focus of the computer, of the camera, so that it's not completely glared out on the back window there. But, again, I haven't figured out how to solve that problem just yet, so eventually I will. I think I know how, come to think of it, I just haven't gotten around to it. But, where it comes to dealing with other people, when you're straightening out your life. Now they say, the saying is clothes make the person. Well, if that's the case, this is pretty shabby where it comes to the clothing, in my opinion. But if, in truth, clothes made the person, everybody in the military would behave the same way. Everybody in the post office would behave the same way. Everybody wearing in the same suit would be behaving the same way. And we know for an absolute certainty that this is not the case. It's kind of like everybody, if it were translated to or transferred over to the vehicle makes the person. If that were the case, everybody driving the same make, model, and year of a car would behave the same way, and we know for a certainty that is not the case. However, I will tell you this: what you wear, or how you wear your hair, how you carry yourself, the makeup you have, if you've got tattoos, whatever you're wearing will affect the way you feel about you. It'll also affect the way other people feel about you. Okay, for instance, if you're going to buy a car, okay, quite often, and I strongly recommend this, right? If you're looking to see how clothing can affect people, go to any business dressed in raggedy clothing, okay, even with mild holes in it. One day, go to the same business sometime later, dressed to the nines, and see how differently you're treated. Assuming you're treating people decently to start with. Because I'll tell you, if you walk in telling people they're useless to start with, you're not going to get good service out of them. Okay, yeah, I keep taking my glasses off. I think putting them on is a lot of the times a habit. I've been wearing them since I was in grade 8 because of an accident. However, the reality is, because of what I learned about manipulating my own body, I've managed to put my eyes back together without medication, without diet control. Okay, and I've got my eyes back to, according to the doctors, to 20/20 eyesight where it comes to reading. Now that's pretty decent when you think about it. Didn't have the medication, didn't have any sort of an operation. Okay, I mean the process of redesigning my internal body as well. Because, sugar levels are off, cholesterol's off. I was gifted this morning with a really neat pile of insight, which I started implementing immediately. That should, if everything goes well, if I stay on track, okay, which I have every intention of doing. This does not mean I'm not going to enjoy some of the other things, but it does mean that I am focusing wholly on putting things back together. Well, I hate the bottom of coffee. Bottom of a coffee pot has the grounds in it. I don't know about you, but I'm just not impressed. So when you're looking at changing things, as you alter the way your life is going, as you alter the way that your home feels, okay, you'll find you start having higher tolerance for people around you, for things going on. Net result, you start with your world and it starts to correct itself, or more to the point, you start to correct it by eliminating the negative things that you're involved with, the things that you're not content with. As you do that, you'll find when you go out, you deal with things a little differently outside. That, in turn, will have an impact on the people around you. Okay, and they will see a difference in the way you're behaving. You may end up finding people going, hey, how come you are in such a good mood today? Okay, or how come things seem to be running for you smoothly? Well, the reason for me is real simple. I came to the conclusion that I can carry on blaming everybody else. I can carry on blaming whatever. I can say it's all God's fault. Understand, whatever term you use for a spiritual guide, be it God, Buddha, Allah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you call it Mother Nature. You can do like one kid I knew. When I was growing up, there was a guy that worshipped a light bulb. And his parents, they facilitated it. Problem was, because they changed the light bulb every 2 or 3 weeks. They never turned the light bulb off. And for years, this kid said he'd go in there daily, and he would pray to the light bulb. and his life went beautifully. But they missed it one day, and in the middle of a prayer, in the middle of him praying, the light bulb burned out. The kids, unfortunately, the kid's mind snapped in a heartbeat, and he ended up in a care facility because his mind completely collapsed. Okay. Now, I'm not telling you who to worship. I'm telling you right now, there's a very strong reason to get involved with a church, with a spiritual group, with some sort of like-minded individuals. That brotherhood that can come there is a fantastic way to help bolster your own sense of self. Problem arises when you're following somebody that is saying, the material world is a bad thing, so give us all your money. Okay, and we'll you don't need it, so give it to us. The moment they say that, start questioning if you're on the right track. If you're following the right person. If you're following somebody that says, I've got a beautiful retreat here, through me you can attain happiness. If they're taking you out in the middle of nowhere, they're putting you into a enclosed containment field. Now it's great having fences if you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's wild animals. Okay, but this does not require 6-foot fences with barbed wire on top of them. If you're going to a compound that is heavily armored, lots of weapons, this is not a spiritual path. Now I know that the people that are following these kinds of paths many of them will look at it and go, oh, you just don't understand. And that is quite possible. I don't. Okay, I spent years in the church. I didn't understand that, which is why I walked out of it. Now, don't kid yourself. I still believe wholeheartedly in God, probably more so than most people do. Okay, I don't fear him, I respect him, and I do take guidance. But the important factor from my standpoint is this. I am the way I am. Okay. There's a saying that goes, I am that I am. And that's pretty much the way it is. If you ever meet me on the street and you talk to me, you'll find I'm exactly the same way. I like to think I'm getting more comfortable with the videos here, which thanks again to the people that encouraged me to get started. Okay. But give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel because there's a lot of information going to be coming out. Okay, I keep these videos to a half hour in length because I don't know about you, but my schedule is nuts. So with that in mind, I'm going to bring this to a close, and I'm going to tell you I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, one other little point. Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about the 5 W's of success with an additional H. Where, what, why, when, and who. Okay, those 5 W's will help you identify everything. The H I was referring to is the how, which is what the journey is all about. How do you take your life from where it is, regardless of how you got to where it is? How do you take it from there and make it into something else? Okay, so I will be back tomorrow, and until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.